Welcome to the segment where I review movies past and present, examining them from a variety of perspectives, including the subjective, psychological, and personal. Informative and occasionally funny, this is LoganLand Rants. Hi, welcome to LoganLand Rants, and today we're talking about 16 Candles. Now, John Hughes has made a lot of great movies. I talked a little bit about him last week. John Hughes makes great teen movies, specifically. And that should be a no-brainer. I did hear that he kind of lost his mind a little later. At least that's what I've been told. He apparently started making more family-friendly movies. And by family-friendly, I don't really mean family-friendly, in the good way, the way Pixar or Paddington might be. I mean family-friendly, the shameless, squeakquel, Alvin and the Chipmunk style cash grab. And, if you like that stuff, that's fine, but it's not really my thing. But that's how I heard John Hughes kind of went in that direction years after his directorial debut of 16 Candles. He obviously worked as a writer for Animal House at one point, or not Animal House, for National Lampoon, which, he did have writing credit on Animal House, I think. I'll need to watch that at some point. Let me know in the comments. But John Hughes is, generally a great director, and this is a podcast about 16 Candles. There are obviously some elements that haven't really aged well. I mean, the comedy that pretty much endorses rape. I mean, if you're unfamiliar, there's a scene where two drunk people have sex, which on paper, completely fine, but not completely fine. Jesus, did not mean to say that. Basically, it's I wouldn't call... Yeah, date rape sounds about right on the part of Anthony Michael Hall's character, and a girl who can't even remember the encounter. That's kind of eyebrow raising, especially in today's climate. And also there is an aggressively stereotyped Asian character, Long Duk Dong. Yes, that's the character's name. And I'm sure the Asian actor got paid really well, but I think that's honestly kind of beside the point. Doesn't really change the stereotyping on display. I mean, for example, I don't really think Tarantino hates Bruce Lee, but I do think his portrayal of him was a little on the nose. Elements of it were great. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had some absolutely great moments, but, there was a moment where at a certain point it seemed like he was kind of pandering to a bad crowd. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'm pretty sure Tarantino would say the same thing. But back to 16 Candles. Obviously there are some elements that don't age well. But as a coming-of-age comedy, and it is undeniably funny, it succeeds really well. I mean, it's funny as hell. It only occasionally remembers that it's PG. They fucking forgot my birthday, as they say in one line. And, it never really strays away from the humanity of Molly Ringwald's character, and I think that's important. She's never really sexualized by the characters. Anthony Michael Hall, sure. But in the broad storytelling, it doesn't really paint that idea as, bad in any meaningful way. It's important to note, Molly Ringwald isn't as sexualized as the characters around her, really. And in fact, she's jealous of the sexualization of the other characters, which I do think is important to note. She I wouldn't say she ogles a girl in the shower, but she kind of wishes that she had her body or something. I'll definitely need to rewatch it again after this, but that happened, and it's never really viewed as a slight on her part for understandable reasons. I think teen angst is one of the things that's really universal in this movie. It was certainly universal to me. And obviously, I'm not saying that all of it is good. As I've addressed earlier, there were elements that were not that great. But overall, it's a solid teen movie. And one with a solid amount of heart. I mean, Molly Ringwald is a damn likable protagonist. And, cool. In terms of filmmaking craft, I do admit it's pretty unremarkable, but I think that's kind of the point. Like, the filmmaking isn't supposed to draw attention to itself. Like, if it's a John Hughes movie, the writing and the storytelling, it should be what draws attention to it, really. And I think that's true of a lot of John Hughes movies. Like, even if there are elements that aren't great, the character dialogue and, characters in general, stereotypes or not, or at least the characters that aren't stereotypes, are going to be pretty well written. And, I'd say I'm looking forward to John Hughes' next movie, but something I failed to address in the Breakfast Club, or I might have addressed it in the Breakfast Club podcast last week, is that John Hughes is dead. He died of a heart attack in 2009, and as much as I look forward to his next movie, maybe he would make something human again, he never got the chance, and I was pretty sad about that. Overall, I do have his entire filmography to look at, and there might be elements that don't age well, but ultimately, I think a lot of them, and aspects of 16 Candles, we can look back at fondly. Well, that's all you got for you. If you like what you saw, please like or subscribe. And if you want to yell at me about stuff, follow me on the social media links. Feel free to pledge to my Patreon. And I'll see you next week with a brand new podcast. Bye.